This is Bob Capetta from the College of the Florida Keys, and this lesson is on negative exponents. So the first thing we're going to look at is the following, is 15 x to the negative 3, y to the 4th, over negative 9, x to the 7th, y to the negative 5. Now, there's multiple parts to this problem. We're going to break it down into its pieces. We have numbers, we have x's, we have y's. Let me start with the numbers. We have 15 and we have negative 9. So if I look at 15 and negative 9 and I ask myself, what is the greatest factor that I can extract from each? That is 3. So I'm going to divide the top by 3, and I'm going to divide the bottom by 3. If that's the case, that's equivalent to dividing by 1. 3 over 3 is 1, and dividing by 1 doesn't change the overall value. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. So with the numbers, I get 5 over negative 3. Now we've got our variables. Next up, I have the x's. So I have x to the negative 3 over x to the 7. X to the negative 3 over x to the 7. What does x to the negative 3 mean? X to the negative 3 means 1 over x to the 3rd. What does x to the 7th mean? It means x to the 7th over 1. Now here we have 1 over x to the 3rd all over x to the 7th over 1. What does that mean? 1 over x to the 3rd divided by x to the 7th over 1. If we are working with fractions, if you're dividing fractions, of course, you invert and multiply. That's the same thing as 1 over x to the 3rd times 1 over x to the 7th. Now, what do these mean? 1 over x to the 3rd, 1 over x times x times x times 1 over x to the 7th, x, 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 x. So multiply the top. 1 times 1 is 1. X, 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 x would just be x to the 10th. So upstairs I have a 1. Downstairs I have x to the 10th. Now finally we have the y's to work with. Hopefully there's enough room on my paper to work with the y's. Make sure we can see everything there. So the y's that I'm dealing with are what? Are y to the 4th over y to the negative 5. Y to the 4th over y to the negative 5. What do they mean? Y to the 4th means y to the 4th over 1. Y to the negative 5 means 1 over y to the 5th. Divide those fractions, y to the 4th over 1, divided by 1 over y to the 5th, which will be y to the 4th over 1 times y to the 5th over 1. So downstairs there's a 1. Upstairs, y to the 4th, so that's y, 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 y. Y to the 5th, y, 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 y. 1 times 1 is 1. So we get y to the 9th over 1. That goes upstairs. So we have y to the 9th over 1 is what this reduces to. So making that substitution, upstairs y to the 9th, downstairs 1. So multiply all that together. 5 times 1 times y to the 9th. 5y to the 9th upstairs. Downstairs, negative 3 times x to the 10th. And that's my first answer of that type. Let's do a similar one. Next up, we will do negative 24. X to the 6th. Y to the negative 7 over 18 x to the negative 3 y to the negative 9th. And again, I'm going to break this up into pieces. We'll do the number part first, then the x part, then the y part. So we have negative 24 over 18. Let's divide the top by 6. Let's divide the bottom by 6. Divided by 6, divided by 6 to reduce the fraction. And the result we get is 24 divided by 6 is 4, so that's negative 4. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Upstairs, negative 4. Downstairs is 3. Next up, we have our x's. Our x part, x to the 6th over x to the negative 3. X to the 6th over x to the negative 3. And I ask myself the question, what does this mean? This means x to the 6th over 1 divided by x to the negative 3 means 1 over x to the 3rd. So let me write it that way with the division symbol. X to the 6th over 1 divided by 1 over x to the 3rd, which is x to the 6th over 1 times, invert and multiply, x to the 3rd over 1. What is x to the 6th? X times what is x to the 3rd? X over 1 times 1 is 1. And we get x to the 9th over 1 for that piece. So that's my x section on this problem. Now let's go ahead and do the y's. So I have y to the negative 7 over y to the negative 9. Which means 1 over y to the 7th divided by 1 over y to the 9th. Which means, again, 1 over y to the 7th divided by, written with the line and 2 dots, divided by 1 over y to the 9th, which is 1 over y to the 7th times y to the 9th over 1, which is what? Upstairs, 1 times y to the 9th, y to the 9th, y, that's y to the 9th. Downstairs, we have y to the 7th, y. Y to the 9th upstairs, y to the 7th downstairs. What happens here? Y over y, 1 over 1, 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 1 over 1. Upstairs, a whole bunch of 1s times y squared upstairs, and just 1 downstairs. So that's my y section on this problem. We get y squared over 1. As we multiply all this together, then my final answer will be negative 4 x to the 9th, y squared over 3. So, I mean, these negative exponent problems are pretty challenging, but it's important that you stay on it to make some sense out of it. And always ask yourself, what does it mean? What does it mean? All right, let's do another question here. This time we will do negative 3, a to the negative 4, b squared to the 3rd power. So something to the 3rd power, what do we know? Something to the 3rd power, like x to the 3rd power, is x times x times x. We know that. So something to the 3rd power would be something, something, something. Whoops, something, something, something. So what goes into something here is this negative 3a to the negative 4b squared. So I'm just going to write down this parentheses 3 times. 1, 2, 3. What's in there? Negative 3, a to the negative 4, b squared. Negative 3, a to the negative 4, b squared. Negative 3, a to the negative 4, b squared. Now, each one of these things is a fraction. -3 means -3 over 1. A to the -4. A to the -4 means 1 over a to the 4th. B squared means b squared over 1. Again, multiplied by -3 over 1. A to the -4 means 1 over a to the 4th. B squared means b squared over 1. And of course, the same thing is repeated a third time. So on top, what do we have? -3 times -3 is +9, times -3 is -27. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. That doesn't add anything to my fraction. B squared, b squared, b squared, bb, 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 b to the 6th. Downstairs, what do I have? A to the 4th, a to the 4th, a to the 4th, a multiplied by a lot of ones. How many a's total do I have? I have a to the 12th. That's that one. And let's do a similar one if we can. This time I will do 5a squared b to the -4th squared. You have something squared, something to the 3rd power, write it down 3 times, something to the 2nd power, write it down twice. So this parentheses is going to be written down twice. We're going to have 5a squared b to the -4 times 5a squared b to the -4. And then we ask ourselves, what does that mean? 5 means 5 over 1 times a squared means a squared over 1. B to the -4th means 1 over b to the 4th. Same thing here, 5 over 1. A squared over 1, 1 over b to the 4th. Multiply the tops. 5 times 5 is 25. A, 4 of them, a to the 4th, 1 times 1 is 1, of course, 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. B to the 4th, b, 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 b. How many b's do I have? B to the 8th on that one. All right. So let's jump to another kind of problem. Let's take a look at the following. Let's look at 1/2 to the -3rd power. So we need to think about how we're going to do this. So let's remember how x to the -3rd power works. X to the -3rd means 1 over x to the 3rd. So something to the -3rd power is 1 over something to the 3rd. Something to the -3rd power is 1 over something to the 3rd. What is the something? 1 over 1/2 to the 3rd. Now, what does this mean? This means 1 over 1/2 to the 3rd means 1/2, 1/2, 1/2. 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. 1/2 to the 3rd power means write down 1/2 3 times and multiply. But 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/8, so this is 1 over 1/8, which will give me 1 divided by 1/8, which is 1 over 1 times, take the reciprocal of 1/8, 8 over 1, and my answer, after all that, is 8. So a similar question there. Let's do another one. How about 1/4 to the -2? If I do 1/4 to the negative 2. Again, x to the negative 2, right, is 1 over x squared. So something to the negative 2 is 1 over something squared. So 1/4 to the negative 2 is 1 over 1/4 squared, which is 1 over 1/4 times 1/4, which is 1 over 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 4 is 16, 1 over a 16th, which is 1 divided by a 16th. 1 as a fraction is 1 over 1 times, take the reciprocal and multiply. The reciprocal of 1/16 is 16 over 1. 1 times 16 is 16 over 1 is 16. Okay, there's one other type of problem I want to take a quick look at with exponents and negatives, albeit this is not a negative exponent, but a negative number with an exponent. If I have, let me get the paper straight here. If I have negative 8 to the second power, what does that mean? This means negative 1 times 8 to the second power, which would be negative 1 times 8 is 64, and I get negative 64. Similarly, negative 5 to the second power, what does that mean? That means negative 1 times 5 to the second power, which would be negative 1 times 5 to the second power. 5 times 5 is 25, which is negative 25. But if I use parentheses, for example, if I say parentheses negative 7 to the second power, how is this different? Negative 7 to the second power means negative 7 times negative 7 written down twice, which is positive 49. So something to keep in mind as we're dealing with negative exponents and with negative numbers. And that will end this lesson.